Welcome to the Edward Woodson Show. Born and raised in Washington, D.C., he is a gifted interpreter of issues and values as they emerge in American popular culture. He'll make you laugh, he'll make you mad, but he will tell you the truth. Here's your host, Edward Woodson, on 880 AM, The Biz.
Hello, America. Welcome to the Edward Woodson Show. Greetings from the Magic City. I'm Edward Woodson, and I'm so mad. Well, Juror B37 says that race played no role in the case. And of course, Anderson Cooper freaked out when he heard about that. It's the third night in a row of chaos in LA and Oakland. And we have updates. Eric Holder speaks out on the Zimmerman case. You knew that was coming. And Nancy Grace dramatically calls the Zimmerman case. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. And Rachel Jeantel was on Piers Morgan last night. We shall discuss these stories and more. Do not touch that dial. I mean it. We got a lot to cover today. You're not going to want to miss this show. Welcome to the show, everyone. Welcome to the show. Well, last night I was switching through the channels and I happened upon CNN, which actually is the top story today. Anderson Cooper secured an interview with Juror B37. She was in the black light. She was in the shadows so that she wouldn't be identified, but basically, she said that race played no role in the case. She said that the actions of Neighborhood Watch volunteer and Trayvon Martin both led to the fatal shooting. But she said that Zimmerman didn't break the law. She said she just looked at the actions of George Zimmerman right before the shooting. And what was amazing was the disbelief on Anderson Cooper's face. He couldn't believe, and he kept pressing the issue. And again, it just shows the bias that the media has. And again, I didn't even know that this was going to be, that she was going to be on it. And apparently this juror, B37 is her name. Well, that's how she's identified. She's actually also, just to tell you from the outset, she's shopping a book deal around, her and her husband. Her husband apparently is a lawyer. She's a middle-aged woman. She has got 2 kids. Some of her quotes, she said, "I think both were responsible for the situation they had gotten themselves into. I think they both could have walked away." She said that Sanford Police Detective Chris Serino made the biggest impression on her. because he would have been accustomed to dealing with murders and similar cases. So she said that she basically believed George Zimmerman's account. And again, you got to see this interview. I'm sure it's all over the internet, but you got to see Anderson Cooper. He just can't believe it. He just can't believe it. He kept questioning her about race. Is race a factor? Wasn't race a factor? And she kept saying, no, race was not a factor. We just looked at the law. Then after the interview, they had Jeffrey Toobin on there. Jeffrey Toobin is the legal expert for CNN, the resident liberal that they have on there, because everybody on CNN is liberal. That's why they call it the Communist News Network. He, again, just couldn't. He actually said it's unbelievable that race was not a factor. These guys keep pushing the race card. They're race baiters, as a matter of fact. And as I said on my show yesterday, okay, I'm going to give you a quote. The Democrats are playing you for a political chump. And if you vote for them, not only are you a chump, you are a traitor to your race. Now, that is a quote by, guess who? Malcolm X. Talking about black people voting for the Democrat Party. And as I've said before, this is all being used. Okay? This is being used by the Democrat Party and by the mainstream media to divide people. Again, they cannot let this thing go. I mean, look, the state of Florida threw everything at this case. Okay? They appointed a special prosecutor. They didn't even go the grand jury route, which is what they should have done. They should have gone for a grand jury. But they didn't even do that. No. What they did was they appointed a special prosecutor. The governor appointed a special prosecutor because I have no doubt that he had pressure from the Department of Justice. And speaking of the Department of Justice, we'll get to that in a minute. Everyone is talking about how is the Department of Justice going to bring a civil rights action against George Zimmerman. Well, the FBI has already investigated this. I'll go into it further in the show later. And they have found that race did not play a role in this. Race played no role in this case. It was all about the law. The juror went on to say that she was not impressed by Rochelle's testimony. I'm gonna cut it here because I've got a call. I've got Ellen Ratner from Talk Radio News. Ellen, how are you?
I am doing okay. Just got back from Iceland. You have me today and tomorrow, and I have to tell you the Trayvon Martin case is the case heard around the world.
Is it really? They're talking about it in Iceland too?
Yeah, they are talking about it in Iceland. I mean, it isn't obviously top of the hit parade, but people are pretty fascinated by our American justice system.
It is amazing that this case has taken on the life that it has, because if you think about it, you know, these types of cases go on every day. It's amazing. Of course, the media has pushed this case to make it what it is. Let's be honest here.
Well, to some degree, yes. And I have, as somebody said, isn't it about time that they focused on the baby, the royal baby?
Okay.
But what I want to know about is why aren't people... What good does protesting do? What you need to do is do active work to end the stand your ground laws.
Well, I got to stop you there, Ellen, because this has been stated for the last couple days in the media talking about stand your ground. This case had nothing to do with stand your ground. This was a classic self-defense case.
Well, maybe.
No, it was, Ellen. It was absolutely
that.
But
what was he doing with? But I understand. But what was he doing with the gun in the first place?
Well, again,
really, I mean,
again,
in this day and age, it takes about a nanosecond to call 911.
Well, again, Ellen, to your point, if you want to, instead of protesting, if you want to change something, call the state representative. In Florida, we've got conceal and carry laws. So hey, listen, that's just the way it is.
I think they ought to outlaw football. So.
Well, I mean, again, that's if that's how you feel, then you need to call your state representative. But the fact is he was within his rights legally to carry a gun. We've got carry and conceal here, and this case, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to talk about that later. Everybody keeps talking about stand your ground. They didn't utilize stand your ground because with stand your ground, what happens with stand your ground in the state of Florida is you have a hearing before a judge, just before a judge, before anything comes about, before there's a trial. And the judge determines whether or not stand your ground fits and whether or not they're going to charge you or not. So this wasn't a stand your ground case, and everybody keeps mistakenly talking about it. And this has nothing to do with stand your ground.
So if you were to change if you were a lib wacko like me, and you were to change the law, what law would you want to change?
Well, again, if you want to just talk specifically about this case, this is a self-defense case. This has to do with self-defense, and you'd have to go to all 50 jurisdictions in the United States to change that because this is ingrained within the law in our country. You have the right to self-defense. This is an expansion of something that's called the Castle Doctrine, which states that within your home you have the right to defend yourself, and you don't have a duty to retreat. And what stand your ground says is that if you're outside, it doesn't matter if you're in your home or not, that you have you can use stand your ground. But this wasn't stand your ground. This was a classic self-defense case. So,
well,
I know you might not like it, but that's the law.
I don't like it, but I also don't like the protests because I don't think they do a darn bit of good.
No, they don't do any good. And, I thought about this yesterday. The people protesting, Ellen, there's no way they can have jobs because, you can't protest onto the night because you got to get up
You can have
work.
jobs, and you can take a personal day or a sick day, or maybe you have vacation.
Maybe.
Who knows what?
I bet most of these people don't. That would be my guess. Okay, that's just a thought I had yesterday. But yeah, I agree.
Well, I'm not sure.
I agree.
In any case, I don't think protesting does a lot of good.
No, I don't think it does do any good. And I think if you want to do something, then I think what you should do is you should contact your state representative. Work on changing the law. And what I don't understand is why it is that people are so angry about this, considering the fact that, look, they got everything they wanted. They wanted George Zimmerman charged. They wanted him tried. There was a jury found that he was not guilty.
Well, honestly, I think George Zimmerman might be happier in prison because he's not going to have any kind of life, and he can't go on the street.
Well, it just depends where he goes,
Well, nowhere. Somebody will hunt him down.
It's not, it's definitely better than prison, Ellen. Because in prison, he would have been hunted down as well. So.
Depends where. But I'll tell you, the whole thing is just, I'm surprised they didn't give him some manslaughter. I really am.
Well, again, I'm going to have to point out to you legally, Ellen, that in manslaughter cases, the defense to manslaughter is also self-defense. So it's the exact same defense legally. And apparently that's what the jury considered. They didn't look at anything except for the law. They actually did a very good job because this was a very weak case to begin with, Ellen. It really was.
And apparently, what they were saying in Iceland, honestly, said he had a lousy defense.
No, you're talking about the prosecution was lousy.
The prosecution was lousy. That's what I meant. Yeah.
It was.
Sorry.
It was terrible, Ellen. I got to tell you, I watch the trial every day, and the prosecution was horrible. If you want to be prosecuted for something, you want these guys to prosecute you. But they simply didn't have the evidence. It was a very weak case, probably shouldn't have been brought to begin with, and the only reason it was brought about was because of the pressure brought about by the media, by the Justice Department, and you saw the outcome. It was not guilty. So.
Well, as Victoria Jones says, now they can worry about the royal baby. the media.
Yeah, they can fixate on that. Why are Americans so fixated on the royal family? And the
I have no
idea? I've
idea.
never gotten that. Never understood that.
I haven't gotten it either. It just is crazy.
Yeah, they're talking about it. When's it going to be?
And the royal family wouldn't be there except it brings tourist dollars in.
That's it. That's the only reason. And I saw some report of just literally billions of dollars it brings to them, and that the baby is going to bring so much more money to the economy. And I guess they need it. They're in their third recession right now. So Crazy, Ellen, crazy. Well, listen, thanks for the call. I missed you. I'm glad you're back.
I missed you too, but you get me tomorrow, and we'll talk about real news.
Psych. All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to go on a little break. 305-541-2350. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. Back in a moment with Edward Woodson on 880 AM, The Biz.
Gun World of South Florida is a state-of-the-art shooting facility with full gun shop with 50 years experience as gunsmiths, located in Deerfield. Book a class online at gunworldofsouthflorida.com with professional instructors or call 954-596-0526. A cool place to visit with climate control, gun sales and rentals, and extra-wide shooting booths. Visit or call Gun World of South Florida at 954-596-0526.
Don't believe for 1 second that the banks or the government are going to help you modify your mortgage or reduce your payments. It just won't happen. I'm Richard Burton. I've represented hundreds of South Florida homeowners defending the foreclosures on their homes. And anyone who takes money from you claiming that they can reduce your payments and modify your mortgage, it's wrong and it's illegal. You need an experienced lawyer to help you through the process. Don't ignore the process or you will lose your home. I'm Richard Burton.
Politicians are spending so much time chasing scandals, they've forgotten about the economy.
We have had sustained economic growth, but we are not where we need to be yet.
Your 401k statement is like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to get.
Will the second half of 2013 be up or down?
Not at all unusual. The market goes up and down and all around.
The information we give you on this station, you can take to the bank. 880 AM, The Biz. South Florida's only business radio station.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
880 AM, The Biz.
Want to talk to Edward? Call right now. 305-541-2350. 305-541-2350.
He's still so mad. Now back to your host, Edward Woodson, on 880 AM, The Biz.
Welcome back to the show. I've got Ron from Phoenix on the line. Ron, how are you?
Morning, Edward. Let me start off by saying we all love Ellen, of course. But I did notice something during your conversation there that really pointed up a characteristic, a basic difference between liberals and conservatives. That is, liberals believe that you should turn over everything to the government. The government's going to protect you. And conservatives believe, in self-responsibility, personal responsibility. Take care of yourself. Don't depend on the government. Now, if you take the liberal stance and carry it out to its final conclusion, the liberals will be in prison because the government, believe me, it's just a natural thing of nature. It will eventually progress into a full totalitarian regime.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. As usual, you're spot on, Ron. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it, my man.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Of course, everyone now is talking about the Justice Department, whether they should come out and charge George Zimmerman for a civil rights violation. First of all, I got to tell you, the bar is extremely high in that regard. You've got to show that race played a role when he pulled that trigger, that he actually shot Trayvon Martin because of his race. So that's virtually impossible. And you know what they're doing again, the Justice Department, Eric Holder, they're again trying to gin up the base. And frankly, it's working. You know, it is. And I agree with Ellen, because I don't understand why people protest. What are they protesting about exactly? Eric Holder, yesterday, he was speaking in front of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and he called the incident tragic, unnecessary shooting, and he noted the importance of having a national dialogue. He went on to say, I believe that this tragedy provides yet another opportunity for our nation to speak about the complicated and emotionally charged issues that this case has raised. He also went on to call for dignity. He says, I hope that we will approach this necessary, difficult dialogue with the same dignity as those who have lost the most. Trayvon's parents, they suffered a pain that no parent should have to endure, and one that I as a father cannot begin to conceive. He's basically setting this up so that the Justice Department can file charges. I don't think that's going to be possible. It's not going to work. It's a very, very high threshold. And the president, of course, weighed in as well and called for tougher standards. Jay Carney yesterday at the White House, he gave a short presser, talked about how this was an opportunity now for the president. Talked about gun control once again. He just won't let the gun control thing go, man. And, of course, we know that this White House uses every crisis. Doesn't let a crisis go to waste. That's how they roll. Nancy Grace, man. Nancy Grace. She's been reiterating this claim that she made about a year ago. That's now been debunked. But she keeps on with this. Now, I'm going to play this for you, and I got to warn you, there's some graphic language here.
Yes, Nancy. In this situation, there's no one going to be happy in the outcome of this case. Trayvon will not be back.
But Mr.
George
Parks,
Zimmerman
I'll tell you what I think made a difference. When that 911 tape first came out, and everybody get ready, this is graphic language. When it first came out that Zimmerman had said, on the 911 call, I mean, to me, that was open and shut. That showed ill will and hatred. Open and shut. I mean, there wasn't even a question. Now that they revised it and said, he's saying, these punks get away with it. They always get away with it. I'm wondering if that reinterpretation of what he said made a difference as to a... Now,
I don't know where she gets this from, because you can clearly hear on the tape, unless they doctored the tape, the 911 tape. I don't know where she gets this from. This has been debunked. And then, of course, Assistant DA John Guy shocked many in the courtroom when he loudly proclaimed effing punks and these a-holes always get away. He rearranged those from the 911 call because that's not the actual words. So we've now seen this before. One of the funniest things, though, I got to tell you, yesterday, a woman, this was in D.C., okay, a protester who mentioned the oppression of the LGBT community at a pro-Trayvon Martin rally in D.C., was chastised by a female demonstrator for mingling the two causes. She says, this is about a black kid getting shot down because he was black, not no gay stuff, she said. But I watched this last night. Again, this was on, I forget where I saw it. It might have been on Fox where I saw it. But the guy talking is white. I don't understand this. You know, the guy is talking about oppression. I guess he's gay. I don't know. But here's the clip right here.
We're told in this country that we have democracy. But the case of Trayvon Martin makes something abundantly clear. That there's democracy in this country for a group of people, for the 1%, and the rest of us, the working class, black and brown people, LGBTQ people, we don't get democracy. We get capitalism, we get white supremacy, we get homophobia and LGBTQ oppression. There's a 1% that has democracy and there's oppression for the rest. So we've got to change that. And if there's any question about do we have democracy in this country, I think the case of Trayvon Martin answers that question very clearly.
Gay people. Now listen to this woman. This is hilarious. It's a black woman.
I would just like to say, this is not about no damn LGBT. It ain't about none of that bull about that, sir. I'm sorry. This is about a black kid getting shot down because he was black. Not no gay. None of that. Ain't got nothing to do with that. He was a black kid, my son, my nephew, my people just got shot down because he was walking down the street with a f***ing hood on his head. And this guy has gotten out. He is not guilty. He was smirking all through the
She goes on and on and on and on, talking about. You got to see it. It's I'll post it later on my page so you can check it out. I'm sure it's all over the internet now. But I gotta agree with her. Like, what does this have to do with LGBT rights? You know, these protesters, man, they just kill me. They just kill me. They just go off, going nuts. You know, I don't understand why it is that they would, protest about LGBT rights, you know? Anyway, so we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. Rochelle Jeantel last night was on with Piers Morgan. It just never ends, this stuff, man. She called the decision just BS. She said she was disappointed, upset, and angry. Piers Morgan asked her, said, let's talk about creepy-ass cracker. People said this is a phrase used by black people, cracker, to describe a white person. Is that true? She said, no. Apparently, that is not a racial term. Creepy-ass cracker is not a racial term. Okay? Just so you know. And then this was the best. Piers Morgan goes, how do you spell it, first of all? An apparently curious Piers Morgan asked. It was determined the word is spelled cracker with an A. You know, I guess that makes it okay if it's like an A, like kind of like the same as like, the N word, which or the R word. So she went on to say, talking about the jury, she said that they are, they're white. Well, one is Hispanic, she said. She referred to them as old school. And then she said if Martin was white and wearing a hoodie, nothing would have happened. Adding that she had a feeling it was going to be not guilty, mostly because of the way the testimony was presented. Jeantel also gave us a lesson in the use of the N-word. She said the N-word spelled with an A can be used to describe any male, regardless of race. FYI. So Rochelle has taught us all a lesson in linguistics and race. All right, I'm going to go on a little break, 305-541-2350. Don't touch that dial. I'm going to have the blaze on when I come back.
Don't touch that dial. Back in a moment with Edward Woodson on 880 AM, The Biz.
Gun World of South Florida is a state-of-the-art shooting facility with full gun shop with 50 years experience as gunsmiths, located in Deerfield. Book a class online at gunworldofsouthflorida.com with professional instructors or call 954-596-0526. A cool place to visit with climate control, gun sales and rentals, and extra-wide shooting booths. Visit or call Gun World of South Florida at 954-596-0526.
One goat can make the difference between nourishment and hunger. One goat can make the difference between poverty and sustained income. In the war-torn areas of southern Sudan, one goat can make the difference between life and death. Find out how you can help. Visit goatsfortheoldgoat.org. That's goats, F-O-R, theoldgoat.org. Fighting hunger, one goat at a time.
Politicians are spending so much time chasing scandals, they've forgotten about the economy.
We have had sustained economic growth, but we are not where we need to be yet.
Your 401k statement is like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to get.
Will the second half of 2013 be up or down?
Not at all unusual. The market goes up and down and all around.
The information we give you on this station, you can take to the bank. 880 AM, The Biz.
Want to talk to Edward? Call right now. 305-541-2350. 305-541-2350.
He's still so mad. Now back to your host, Edward Woodson, on 880 AM, The Biz.
Welcome back to the show. It's an honor and a privilege to have young Mike on the show from the Blaze, Mike Opelka.
Good morning, Edward. Check it out, live from the Blaze newsroom. How you doing this morning?
You the man, bro. You the man.
I'm thinking about changing my name to Hugh DeMan, so that anytime someone yells at a sporting event, I can stand up and go, "What? What?" Hugh DeMan, everybody.
This case just will not go away. As much as I want to stop talking about it, I find I cannot. And I don't know if you saw last night. Last night, I was flipping through the channels, and I just happened upon the CNN interview, okay, with the juror.
You were watching Anderson Cooper talk to juror, and now the jurors have now taken on the identities of bingo balls. It's like B37.
Yeah, B37. B37. And she was, what was amazing to me as I was watching it was how Anderson Cooper would not accept her answers. Like she kept saying to him, look, race did not play a role in this whatsoever, and he couldn't accept her answer. He kept saying, well, didn't race play a role in this? Wasn't it about race? He would not accept the answer. Like, he just couldn't accept it.
That was a stunning thing. And at what point does a reasonable human being go, look, Anderson, do you think I'm lying? Just tell me I'm lying. Because that's the point I would get. If someone keeps repeating the same question to me, I just think they're telling me I don't believe you. And I thought that was rude.
I thought so,
weren't
too.
you amazed the woman came forward?
Yeah, I was, but I guess also part of it is that she's pitching a book deal, her and her husband, apparently.
Sure.
She was the one that is trying to get that book deal, which I'm sure she will get. Her husband apparently is an attorney. She says that this I found was interesting. She said she doesn't want to make any money off of it. But then why is she pushing a book deal? Because she's
you never know. It could be the launch. It's like a loss leader, as they say at retail. When you put a specific item on sale that you're going to lose money, but you're going to get traffic. Maybe she thinks she'll get a show. She thinks she'll become a real housewives of the jury pool. Who knows what the hell they think?
Right.
I'm very surprised. I would be tempted to look at any book offers if I were in their situation, but I also would seriously weigh it with the thousands of death threats that people like the Zimmerman family have received and wonder if I could be the target of a similar threat. And nothing's worth that. Nothing worth having to live like Salman Rushdie for the rest of your life.
Well, I mean, look, the fact is that if a book came out, it would be huge bestseller. Think about it. I mean, everybody's going to want to read it. They're going to want to know about it. Well,
it's the first one that makes the difference.
Absolutely. So she's, you know what? I don't blame her for getting out in front. I don't blame her for doing that. I might be tempted to do the same thing,
Well, I watched her, and then I watched Rachel Jeantel with Piers Morgan.
It's Rochelle.
Is it Rochelle?
It's Rochelle.
Okay. I just think it's an indictment of our education system, and that was the biggest problem I had with this. I didn't see anything different nothing changed my opinion of her from the first day of testimony. She's part of the culture we have developed now for young people, that you can be a celebrity just based on being on television and not having any substance. And a complete indictment of the fact that we don't teach grammar, sentence structure, coherent thought anywhere. And she's an adult in my mind. I think she was trying to pass herself off as a child as well. But once you're 17 years old, there's a lot you can do in this country that adults can do, and I really think the mirror should be focused back on the educational system and say, stop giving us stuff like this.
Well,
let's give us people that have a center, have intelligence.
Well, Mike, she did give us a lesson in linguistics. So let's not forget that there was some value, some educational value. She did clear up the creepy-ass cracker reference, and also the use of the N-word. If you use an A at the end of it, it's used to
ER versus A.
That's right.
And I'm very I actually tweeted that out without using the N-word. I tweeted out the actual words in quotes because I find it offensive that we can't speak openly and have a discussion about exclusive language. And I thought it was interesting how she said you can even use that word to describe an Asian person, or she kind of said Chinaman, didn't she?
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, okay, where's the Asian community going? Shut up.
She didn't get the memo. Of course. And, it's funny because going back to your point about the indictment of the educational system, if you paid attention to CNN, and I've been watching this Sunny Hostin, okay, she should just be ashamed of herself. And I had a friend of mine say to me, oh, she'll never work again. And I said, no. Contrary to what you think, she's going to get her own show. And she's angling. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm predicting right now, Sunny Hostin is going to get a show on CNN. I guarantee you that. But what she said was, she said that she thought that Rochelle was eloquent and poignant in her speech, and didn't find anything wrong with it. And then I'm sure you saw that article that was during the trial and on Drudge, saying that it's our fault because we don't understand Black English, and it's our fault, Mike.
Well, then, if that's the case, then let's start giving the driver's license tests in Black English. I'm licensed in New York City, have a driver's license, and when you go in to take the test in the DMV here, you can get it in English, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Mandarin, and I forget what the other one is, and 39 other languages. So why don't we have a Black English?
So by the way,
it's insanity.
By the way, Mike, you would be actually both A, creepy ass cracker with an A, and you would also qualify for being the N-word with an A.
That's right.
And also,
I wear them proudly. I'm thinking about getting jerseys that say that.
And also, by the way, you might even be considered the R word.
Yeah, mildly. Thank you. And I'm going to say it because I'm not stopping saying language. That's retarded. And excuse anybody who has a challenged child if you're offended by that. We're just having a bit of fun here. I am concerned about what you said, though, that we seem to keep fanning the flames of this, and I do blame a lot of media,
of course,
for keeping this alive. And the main culprits to me are MSNBC, specifically Sharpton, who now has a 100-city vigil planned. Yeah. And he initially called it a 100-city protest, and yesterday they said, well, we're going to call it a vigil now. Just really not good to be doing this, especially when you have cities like Chicago, again, with dozens of people killed. And did we go over the stat about how many black kids or black folks were killed by other black folks since the Zimmerman killing? Zimmerman killed Trayvon and the verdict.
Well, I know the percentage is, and if that's what you're referring to, I think it's 91% of all black murders are committed by blacks.
Well, no, I'm talking about just
number?
Since the number, and I believe this is in Chicago, since this killing and the verdict, I believe there were over 1,000. And why aren't we talking about that? And again, in the city with the toughest gun laws in the country.
Yeah, well, I talked about that actually yesterday on my show a lot, extensively, about how the fact that the media ignores this. They ignore that story about young black men being killed every day. And I said this to you after Newtown as well, if you recall, because it was amazing to me how the media always focuses in when something like interracial happens. That's the narrative that they want to push, the false narrative that they want to push, when in fact the bigger problem, I think, is black on black crime, and the fact that young black males all over every inner city in America, they're being killed in record numbers, but yet the media is silent on it. And civil rights, I'd like to see Al Sharpton. Why doesn't Al Sharpton go to Chicago and talk about gang violence being perpetrated on young black men? I'd like to see that, but instead...
Very interesting thought. We also need to address, Edward, and part of this would solve that, the lack of media attention on the March for Jobs that's been going on in D.C. If we had jobs, if we did not have a 50% unemployment rate in some of these inner city neighborhoods for the youth, then you would not have the discontent. Capitalism tends to cure a lot of ills, and that's the problem. We have nagging unemployment that nationally has been well over 7.5% for the duration of this president's terms. And now you have young people who don't have a job, who haven't had a job, who are disillusioned, and eventually that's going to boil over. So I think that's the big key, and nobody covered that march yesterday. It was a march on D.C., a march for jobs. Nothing was said in the media. But you can see it on the Blaze.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, I talked to my friend Ryan Gerdusky. I talked to him yesterday. He was actually there. Black youth unemployment in Washington, D.C., 40%. In Chicago, 50%. L.A., 50%. So if you want to really talk about real issues that are facing the community, the black community, those are the real issues. Black unemployment, youth unemployment, black on black crime, the fact that, again, the statistic that I quoted, 91% of all blacks are murdered by other blacks. But yet the race baiters like Al Sharpton, they're not talking about that because it's not convenient for them to do so, which I don't understand.
And they're not building jobs.
No.
Sharpton isn't doing anything that's going to bring jobs to the community, that's going to do anything to help. And I think we just need to put the label "not helping" on people. Just tell them you're not helping. You're doing it wrong. You're getting it wrong. and either help. Who said it? Was it Eldridge Cleaver? Who said it back in the 60s? You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And if we get people on any level thinking about being part of the solution, we will have progress.
I agree with you 100%, my man. All right. Well, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I got to go on a break. But as usual, it was illuminating.
It's all on the Blaze. If you're looking for it, Edward knows. Do what he does, people. Get on the Blaze.
Get on the Blaze. All right. Thanks a lot,
Take
Mike.
care, brother.
Take care, man. 305-541-2350. Don't touch that dial. I'm going to have Dan Bongino on the show. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. Back in a moment with Edward Woodson on 880 AM. The Biz.
One goat can make the difference between nourishment and hunger. One goat can make the difference between poverty and sustained income. In the war-torn areas of southern Sudan, one goat can make the difference between life and death. Find out how you can help. Visit goatsfortheoldgoat.org. That's goats, F-O-R, theoldgoat.org. Fighting hunger, one goat at a time.
Gun World of South Florida is a state-of-the-art shooting facility with full gun shop with 50 years experience as gunsmiths, located in Deerfield. Book a class online at gunworldofsouthflorida.com with professional instructors or call 954-596-0526. A cool place to visit with climate control, gun sales and rentals, and extra-wide shooting booths. Visit or call Gun World of South Florida at 954-596-0526.
Don't believe for 1 second that the banks or the government are going to help you modify your mortgage or reduce your payments. It just won't happen. I'm Richard Burton. I've represented hundreds of South Florida homeowners defending the foreclosures on their homes. And anyone who takes money from you claiming that they can reduce your payments and modify your mortgage, it's wrong and it's illegal. You need an experienced lawyer to help you through the process. Don't ignore the process or you will lose your home. I'm Richard Burton.
This is the Wall Street Business Network.
South Florida's only business radio station, 880 AM. The Biz.
Want to talk to Edward? Call right now. 305-541-2350. 305-541-2350.
He's still so mad. Now back to your host, Edward Woodson, on 880 AM. The Biz.
Welcome back to the show. I've got a caller, Matt from Miami. Matt, how are you? Hello, do we have Matt? All right, Matt, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing this morning?
Good. You're on the air. How are you? What's on your mind?
I'm doing all right. I'm just calling in because I've taken some issue with some of the things that you've said about protests in general and that it does no good.
Okay.
And I think if you look at the history of this country, you'll see that protest has done a lot of good for people. In this day and age, people are more influenced and focused by what's going on in the media. But I mean, where does change start in the American public and the American conscience? That's my question, and it has to start somewhere. And obviously, you've had a lot of criticism about the media in general, even though you're part of the media. But where does change start if media is owned by the rich and powerful? Regular people don't have access to the airwaves, don't have access to mass communication. So where does it begin?
Well, that's why I'm on the air, because I try to speak the truth, okay? Because the mainstream media isn't telling you the truth. The mainstream media is like state-run media. And I just said, when I was talking about protest, I meant protests, and it wasn't just me. It was also Ellen Ratner who said that this morning. I think protests in terms of this particular case. If you want change, then I think you should call your state representatives and try to go about it.
But I think that's part of the problem, because we were talking about the powerful having control over the media. And when you talk about a state representative, most of the people who are in politics or involved in politics are powerful and are backed by powerful sources. Just like your radio show, when you go to break, has commercials for guns and gun shows, and you're on the air basically promoting gun rights, which is fine. I'm not totally against them, but
Okay.
you know, everyone has their allegiances.
Well, listen, you have the right to protest.
I don't think that really we can depend on our representatives all the time to do the right thing.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm not saying don't protest. I think if you want to protest, go ahead.
That's pretty much what everyone said. You and the other woman said that people should not protest and they should stay at home. And I think there is an array of issues. Are an array of issues like people are protesting from the Tea Party to Occupy. And everyone says that there's not a clear message. But the fact is that people on both sides, the right and the left, are completely frustrated with the political system as it is. And I think it's because the powerful people, the rich and powerful and elite interests are running the show and regular people aren't heard.
Hey, I agree with you 100%.
There's been blame of people. Go ahead.
I agree with you 100%, Matt, in terms of what you said.
I don't think it's right to blame people who don't have a job for being out and protesting. You can't blame people for not having a job in an economy like this today.
I agree. Did you vote for Obama by any chance?
I didn't vote in the last election because I was not particularly impressed by either of them, and I decided not to vote for Obama or Mitt Romney in the last election.
That brings up a very good point. I think that we have, in a lot of ways, two false choices with our election system. And look, all I'm saying is, you certainly have the right to protest. I just don't know what good it does in this particular issue, particularly.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I just think that people have no other option. When people become extremely frustrated, they need an outlet, and they don't really have other than putting up a tweet or your status update on Facebook. Where are people going to go? And I say the value in protest is you meet other like-minded people, you begin organizing, and then you create a movement that can overpower these forces and hopefully at the end of the day achieve some of the goals that you want.
All right. Well,
a lot
Matt,
of these people are frustrated about other things other than Trayvon Martin, but Trayvon Martin is just a breaking point.
I think you should go out and protest. Honestly, if you want to protest something, go protest that the NSA is spying on us, okay? That's what I'm talking about. Nobody's protesting about that, okay? Protest about the NSA.
I agree with you, and
okay?
I have, and I did. I did it under the Bush administration. I've done it under the Obama administration.
Okay, that's what we should
be there
protest.
with you.
All right, my man. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you listening as well. Thank you.
Have a good morning.
All
Take
right.
care.
Dan Bongino, good friend of the show, who is now running for Congress in Maryland. Dan, how are you, buddy?
Hey.
What's
how
happening?
Are you?
How are you?
Good. Busy, knocking on doors. Grassroots matters. You got to look people in the eyes. You can't just run media ads. So I'm enjoying it.
Good. How's it going? Of course, the Trayvon Martin case is just dominating the news cycle. I cannot get away from it.
I know. Tell me about it. I've gotten a lot of requests. We're going to be doing some media this week as well on it. One of the topics that we'll be speaking about is, is this guy in any real danger? And we've been, because of my, experience with the Secret Service doing threat analysis. And I think he is. You get these two different kinds of folks, these crimes of passion folks, and then you get the mentally disturbed people, the Sirhan, the Hinckley types who want to, need a message, need a vehicle to get that message out there. And I think this guy could become that vehicle for some people to get out some message, and that's really a disturbing development.
No, you're absolutely right. In fact, just before you came on, I had Mike Opelka from The Blaze, and he made exactly that same point that, at this point, where is he going to go? Also, I had Ellen Ratner on at the top of the show. She said the exact same thing. To your point, she said it would be better off maybe if he had gone to prison, but I think that prison would probably be a worse place for him. He would definitely be targeted and wouldn't last long there. But it's almost like he's going to have a Salman Rushdie type of life now. He's going to be having to be hunted and on the run now. So what's next?
It took Rushdie 20 years before he was regularly seen in public again, and he's going to have to probably alter his appearance. And I'm very sensitive to this case. We've talked about it on your show here, quite a bit. Listen, there's no question that this was a human tragedy of epic proportions. The kid went to buy some Skittles, and that was the last thing he ever did. I'm very sensitive to all sides of this story. But if you believe in the justice system, then, at some point, there'll be a civil lawsuit. I don't think there's any question. Like you said, this guy's, life is over. But, I just find it odd that there's so much incitement going on in this case right now. I mean, it really is irresponsible, especially for politicians to be doing it. There are avenues, there are civil lawsuits that can be filed, but there's a lot of excitement going on. And I'll tell you, if something bad happens, I think they're going to really regret that course of action.
Yeah, no question about it. Listen, I got to run, my man, because we're out of time. But as usual, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, and I appreciate it. And good luck to you on your congressional race. You know that we got your back, my man.
Thanks, bud. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you. All right, we're out of time for the day, but check out my website, edwardwoodson.com. Also, like us on Facebook, our fan page, The Edward Woodson Show, and send me your friend requests to Edward Woodson on Facebook. It's the best news aggregate out there. You don't need Drudge. You can go right to my page, all right? Good day, America. I'm out.
Thank you for tuning in to The Edward Woodson Show, changing talk radio forever. Listen to The Edward Woodson Show every day, 7 to 8 a.m., and replay at 11 p.m. here on 880 a.m. The Biz.